the baby monitor showed my wife grinning. It wasn't her. I only glanced at the baby monitor because the room was quiet and the clock had slipped past midnight. The monitor sat at the corner of my desk like a small, obedient eye. It showed the crib and the edge of the rocking chair, and tonight, my wife. She stood by the crib with her hand on the rail. The baby lay on his back. Both of them stared into the camera with the same calm, wide smile. I didn't think of fear at first. I thought of being tired. I thought my eyes were dry and my brain turned the image into something it was. I rubbed my face and blinked and looked again. They hadn't moved. The smile on my wife's face was smooth and too even. It was the kind she kept in old photos, held a moment too long because the person with the phone didn't press the button fast enough. Only this wasn't a photo. It was live video, and the baby's smile matched. The monitor's speaker was turned low. We kept it that way so we could hear a fuss without making the house louder. I leaned forward and turned the volume up a notch. The screen flickered as if the camera adjusted to my movement. The smile on my wife's face did not change. The baby's did not change. "Hey," I said to the empty room, because sometimes I forget to keep thoughts inside. "Hey." It felt like the word might loosen something stuck, like a knot in a cord. On the screen, my wife tilted her head. Not a lot. Just enough to adjust the frame. The camera's field of view shifted on its own, a slow breath of a pan, centering the crib, centering the baby. He looked like he had just learned how to smile and was proud of it. He looked like he was trying to keep up with her. We had rules. We had learned them by tripping over them. Don't open the nursery door if the baby is asleep unless we go together. Don't turn on the overhead light, only the small lamp by the chair. Don't panic when the camera glitches. The camera had glitched before, or so we thought. Once it froze on a still frame for 5 minutes while the baby fussed. Once it showed the crib empty when he was right there. Once it echoed a phrase my wife had said in the bedroom 10 minutes earlier. We said it was Wi-Fi. We said it was cheap tech. We said the house was old and wires got crossed with neighbors. We used words to make shapes around things we did not want to notice. I knew I had to do something. Instead of walking downstairs to the nursery, I called my wife. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was thick with sleep. "Hey," she said. "Why are you calling?" I watched the screen while I spoke to her. "Nothing. Sorry, I thought." I didn't want to say it yet. I didn't want to make the image in the monitor into a thing we shared. "You're in bed. I'm in bed." Sheets rustled. A small yawn opened into the phone. "Why are you calling instead of coming here?" She said it the way she says it when she is 60% joking and 40% honest. The monitor's speaker crackled. A soft hiss, then a sound snapped into focus like a radio finding a station. "Hey," my wife's voice said through the monitor. "Come in, Jacob." The words were hers. The cadence was hers. The small catch on the second word was hers. The way she clipped the last consonant of my name was hers. My real phone rested against my ear. "Did you just?" "What?" she said from the bed. "You're scaring me. What's wrong?" On the screen, the camera eased another centimeter to the right, as if a careful hand was making a tiny correction so the baby's face stayed centered. We had not bought a camera that could move, not like that. It could tilt within a small angle, and it did that when it powered on, a brief nod. This was deliberate. This was a decision. "Come in, Jay," the monitor said again. It was my wife's voice. She used my pet name this time, a small word only we used. She said it in the soft, half-whisper she used when we had to move past a closed door without waking him. "Come in, Jay," she repeated, and then she added, "Please." The baby did not blink. His smile stayed. My wife's smile stayed. It felt like someone had paused the shapes of their mouths and set them there. "I'll be right there," I told my wife on the phone. I hung up without explaining. If I said it out loud to her, it would become a story. We were already inside. I stood quickly. The chair squeaked on the floor and I flinched. I reached for the monitor out of reflex and then pulled my hand back before I touched it. I didn't know why I did that. I didn't want to move the image. The hallway to the bedroom was short. The nursery door was downstairs, a small white square with a brass knob that stuck when the weather was damp. The bedroom door was already cracked open. I could see the edge of the bed and the dim shape of my wife's shoulder above the blanket. She lifted her head when she heard me. "What's going on?" she whispered. If what I saw on the screen meant anything, the nursery had 2 people inside who looked like people I loved. The word that came to mind was looked. That was enough to turn my feet to the bedroom first. If she was here with me, Then whatever wore her shape in the other room had less to work with. If she was here, I could hold her wrist and feel the warm, simple human weight of her. I could make a small rule out of it and follow it down a dark hallway. I saw something, I said, already inside the bedroom, already lowering my voice the way we do in the dark even if we don't need to. On the monitor. She pushed herself up to sit and reached for the lamp we kept covered with a thin scarf to dull the light. She turned it on and the corner of the room softened. "What did you see?" she asked. She was awake now. When she asks a question like that, it's because she already set aside the hope that it was nothing. She has a way of moving from sleep to worry like someone stepping into shoes kept at the side of the bed. "You were in there with our baby." I said the words and tasted how ridiculous it should have sounded, except I was not trying to be funny. "You were both smiling at the camera. You weren't blinking." She looked past me at the hallway and then back. She tried to smile, but it came out as a wince. "It's probably lag," she said. She forced her shoulders down like she could pull calm onto her. "Or it froze, or the camera is pointing at a photo on your desk. That happened once with the old one." She was talking to keep from thinking about what I might be saying. "Where is the monitor?" "On my desk." I took a breath. It told me to come in. For a second, we both stared at each other, and both of us knew that the words it told me included too much and not enough. "Who told you?" she asked, and her voice was smaller than I liked. "You," I said. "Your voice, the words you use." I said the pet name. Saying it out loud made it sound like a password left on a napkin at a cafe. We did not say our son's name. We never said it in the doorways. We learned that after the second week. We did not want to teach the dark what to repeat back to us. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood. I watched her balance in the way I know by heart. I watched the little rub of her fingers at her temple. I felt the small ache of sleep leave her. She did not go to the nursery door, not yet. She reached for me instead. "Show me," she said. "Let's look at the monitor first." That sentence saved me that night, or it made the next thing inevitable. I don't know. It felt like she was offering me proof. Proof is heavy, but you can hold it. We had always gone toward proof together when the house was a stranger. We stepped into the hallway towards the office. The monitor's sound, which I realized I could hear from the hallway, was a thin whisper. I could not make out words yet, only a low tone like someone practicing a vowel. I wanted her to go in front of me and I wanted to go in front of her. We walked side by side. The office had the same stale feeling any room gets when you sit in it too long. The monitor sat where I left it, small and ordinary. When we entered, the speaker picked up our footfalls and fed them back, a tiny echo of shoes on a rug. The screen showed the crib, the baby lay still, the smile stayed. The camera had centered him so perfectly that the stripes on his onesie lined up with the edges of the frame. The chair beside the crib was empty. The corner where my wife had been standing a minute ago was only a corner. "See," she said, like a fragile joke we could both touch. "Empty chair, lag." "You were there," I said, and heard how thin I sounded. As if called by the sound of us, the monitor gave us a gift. It spoke with her voice again. "Come in," it said. "Hey, it's okay, come in." The cadence was the one she used when she needed me to hold a door with my elbow because her hands were full. The timing was right. The tiny upward lilt at the end was right. The little pause before the last word was exactly right. She did it when she wanted to make a small joke out of something we did 1,000 times. It was her. My wife stood next to me. I looked at her. She looked at the screen. A second passed, and I could feel the shape of thought moving through her face. "I don't like that," she said. She put her hand on my arm. It was warm and a little heavy. She gripped tighter. "We'll go together," she said. It was the rule. It was a reason. Before we took a step, the camera made a tiny correction, as if breathing. "Come in," Jay, the monitor, breathed, using my pet name with the break where she always put it. We moved back into the hall towards the stairs. The nursery door waited. The house was so quiet I could hear a truck down the block take a corner. I tried to remember if we had locked the front door. I tried to remember if we had ever heard our own voices through a speaker from a place we were not. We stopped at the nursery door. I reached for the knob. It stuck like it always did in damp weather. The thin latch made a soft scrape. The door didn't open. "Wait," my wife said. "Listen." We held still. The monitor's speaker in the office kept whispering. On the other side of the nursery door, something shifted its weight. A small sound like a person leaning off a chair. "Come in," Jay, the voice said. Closer now, not through a speaker. The wood of the door carried it. It was her voice from the other side while she stood beside me. My wife's hand tightened on my wrist. Her thumb found the small bone near the watch and pressed it. "Don't open it," she said, and she wasn't asking. She pulled me back a step. We had that old conversation, the one you don't plan because it builds itself around you in an instant. Do we wake the baby or do we wait? Do we treat the door like any other door or do we treat it like a line? The talk was silent and fast, eyes and small movements. We decided to go back to the office and pick up the monitor so we could bring the room with us. It felt like a trick that might be allowed. We turned and walked hand in hand because it made the hallway feel shorter. In the office, the screen had gone a little grainy, like the camera was straining in a room too dark. The lamp was on a dimmer in the nursery. We never put it past halfway at night. The image showed the crib and the ceiling's edge where the camera was mounted. The chair was still empty. The baby's smile held like a plank balanced on 2 points. "Okay," I said. "We take this." I picked up the monitor and held it like it could jump. The cord pulled, and I remembered it was plugged in. I yanked the cable free. The screen stuttered and came back. The speaker popped. "Are you sure?" my wife asked. "If we move it, will it?" She didn't finish the sentence. We didn't know what it was then, and we didn't want to give it a better name. "We'll bring it," I said. It felt like having it would keep the world in order. If the camera could watch us, then we could watch it watch us. It made sense in that thin way late-night logic makes sense. Before we left the room, the monitor said, "Finally," with her voice. Only that one word. Not mine, not the pet name. A simple word said with relief and something like impatience. Then the words we kept hearing came again, soft and sure. "Come in." We walked to the nursery door and stood with the monitor between us like a small, flat shield. I set my hand on the knob again. The house held its breath. The metal under my palm felt cooler than the rest of the air. "On 3, I said. She nodded. I felt it more than saw it. "1, I said. The monitor whispered, 2. The voice matched the way she counts by dragging the second number a fraction longer when she wants the third to land crisp. It had been a joke once in our kitchen with towels over our shoulders and a pan on the stove. It was not a joke now. I stopped. I looked at my wife. She was looking at the door, mouth set, eyes small and focused like she does when she needs a jar open. I waited for her to look at me and say something like, "That's creepy," and laugh because laughter is another lock we can use. She didn't look at me. She didn't look anywhere. For a moment, she was perfectly still. Then she turned her face toward me and smiled. It was the same smile I had seen on the monitor. It was wide in all the wrong ways. It was gentle and empty at the same time. The corners did not move. Her eyes didn't narrow the way they always do when she smiles. It sat on her face like a picture she had learned to wear. "Finally," she said again, and this time it wasn't through a speaker or a door. It was inches away, and it was what my wife's voice would be if a memory could talk. "You came." She tilted her head a fraction, the way the camera had tilted. Everything I had thought I would do if something like this happened left me. The brave act, the stupid act, the reasonable act. The only thing that stayed was a small, practical idea. Check, then decide. I put the monitor down on the floor because I did not want to drop it. I took a step backward, slow, like backing away from an edge you don't want to admit is there. Her hand was still on my wrist. It tightened and then let go at the same time, like she had to teach the fingers how to move. "You're tired," she said. "You work too late. Come in, Jay." Every word was exactly like hers until you listened to the spaces between them. The spaces were wrong. The pauses had the shape of a person who learned to talk by listening through a wall. "Where is he?" I asked. I meant our son, but did not say his name. "Sleeping," she said. The smile did not change. "He's happy." The last word flattened at the end. She never flattened it. She always lifted it like a little hand wave at the end of a sentence about him. This one fell. I made myself breathe in and breathe out and count. 1, 2, 3, there was something wrong. There was something wrong with my wife, or that was not my wife. I had to figure out which one was true. "Tell me what you said to me when we left the hospital," I said. "In the car." The question felt too big and too small. She looked at me without blinking. I said, "I can't believe they let us leave with him." She smiled deeper, like the mouth wanted to prove it was attached to a memory. "And you said, 'Don't say that out loud.'" She even added the small way she had touched my shoulder when she said it. It was right, but it was the kind of right a person could get by listening. It was the first thing everyone says. It was the right answer to the wrong question. From the monitor on the floor, the room repeated the count again. 1, it said, like it had not noticed we had stopped. 2, it waited. The 3 did not come. I realized something then. The voice through the monitor only asked us to come in. The voice behind the door only asked us to come in. The thing that stood next to me put words around the same thought. It did not ask other things. It did not respond to anything but a direction toward the door. It was a path, not a person. I'm going to the bedroom, I said. I said it to the thing near me and to my real wife, if she could hear me, if she was under the same roof. The smile was still there. Come in, she said, softer now, as if to soothe me past the thought I had just had. I stepped backwards. She did not follow me. I turned and walked to the bedroom without running. Running felt like giving the house a reason to chase me. In the bedroom, the bed was exactly as we had left it. The dent where she had sat. The lamp still on under the scarf. A pair of socks on the floor. I stood in the doorway and said her name the way I say it when I can't find my keys. I said it again, and it tasted like a question we ask 1,000 times. The air did not answer. I walked back. The hallway felt longer. The carpet under my feet felt thinner, like the floor was a little farther away than usual. At the stairs, I stopped. The nursery door was open now, just a few inches, polite, waiting. Come in, Jay, a voice said from inside. It was hers, and it was tired in the way she is at 3 in the morning, but trying to be kind anyway. The thing that wore her shape stood at the end of the hall where I had left it. It had not followed me. It had not moved at all. It turned its head now and looked at me like a person watching a fish in a narrow tank. You're making this hard, it said, and it sounded patient and sad in a way that did not belong to us. I thought of the first night we brought him home and how we watched him sleep. Stay there, I said to the thing, and I don't know why I said it like it could listen. It didn't answer. The smile did not break. It was like telling a picture to wait. I pushed the nursery door open with 2 fingers. It swung until the latch tapped the wall. I did not cross the threshold. I stood on my side of the line and looked. The crib was where we had left it. The small lamp was on, low. The chair had a blanket folded on the back the way she does when she wants to pretend we are neat. The baby lay on his back. He had his hands up near his ears. He did not smile now. His face did that soft, loose thing it does when he is in the deepest part of sleep. It pulled me forward like gravity. On the floor by the crib, just where a person would stand to reach down and touch, there was a place where the rug was pressed flat, as if a foot had been there a long time. Another mark beside it, 2 together. It looked like the rug had learned a shape and kept it. Hey, came the voice from the room, a whisper from a corner the camera never pointed at. Come in, Jay. The word hey hung in the air a second too long. It came from the place where the wall met the closet, where shadows are tidy in daylight and messy at night. No, I said quietly, and my voice sounded like something I had not used in a while. Behind me, the thing at the end of the hall sighed. It made the sound my wife makes when she finally sits down after carrying 3 bags of groceries. It had learned this sound too. It let the sigh finish and then said my name in the soft way my wife says it when she wants me to look at her and not at a screen. I stepped back and pulled the door halfway shut. I'm going to turn on the light, I said to the room, as if it could accept terms. I flicked the switch. The overhead came on. The camera blinked on the wall. The monitor in the office crackled and fell silent. The lamp by the chair looked smaller in the new brightness. I don't like that, the voice said from the corner, and for the first time it did not sound like her. I reached for the crib and slid it 2 inches toward the door. The wheels thunked on the floor. The baby didn't stir. I put my hands under him and lifted, warm and heavier than the last time, which is the trick babies do so you notice time. I stepped into the hall. The thing watched from the threshold and did not cross. Thank you, it said, like testing the shape of the words. You can't have him, I said. You can't ask for him. We walked to the bedroom. The door behind us stayed open like an eye. The thing followed, but it did not come close. It stayed at the edge, the way you do when you are a guest in a home that is not yours. In the bedroom, I laid the baby down in the center of our bed and built a low wall of pillows around him like we do when we have to change the sheet. I turned off the lamp, and the room went to that soft nothing that makes you want to whisper. We should go, I said. We should leave the house. I said it into the dark, to my real wife if she was there, and to whatever else was listening. The thing stood in the doorway and did not step over the line. It looked at the bed. It looked at me. Come in, Jay, it said, as if the words meant something every time you say them. I walked toward the main entrance of the house, where the front door opens to a view straight to the nursery. From there, I could see it clearly. The nursery door was closed again. I had not closed it. It sat the way it does when the latch catches just right. The part of me that organizes small details took a picture in my head of how the hardware sat in the plate, where the paint had chipped, how the screw had a scratch where I had missed once with a screwdriver. It was the same, and it was not. The angle was a tone off. If you have lived with a door a long time, you know how it rests. This was like a person who learned your house and had not yet learned its lazy bones. "We're leaving," I said into the air, and I didn't wait for permission. I went into the bedroom and picked up the baby and my bag and her coat. I said my wife's name and the word "come." I said, "We're going now." The thing stood still and watched us. It smiled and did not blink. "Come in, Jay," it said, as if it could make those words mean any direction. I unlocked the front door. The chain always sticks in the winter. If you lift it and push the door with your hip at the same time, it loosens. I did that now, and it slipped like it had been oiled. I stepped onto the porch, and the air felt like a decision. Behind me, something small clicked like a light switch. I turned. The hallway was empty. The nursery door was no longer visible from the angle of the front door, like the geometry of the house had moved to keep it private. We went to the car. We buckled the baby. I got in the driver's seat and put the monitor on the dash out of habit. I called my wife's phone. It rang in the house and then went to voicemail. I left a message because it felt like hands reaching into a dark room and feeling a chair. We drove to her sister's house 4 blocks away because it was the nearest place with a light I could imagine turning on. We woke them and told them a version of the truth that did not fit in the kitchen. We slept, or we made the shape of sleep. When morning came, we went back together with people and language and the sun. The nursery was as we left it. The camera on the wall had turned itself toward the door instead of the crib. The little red record light was off. The crib was in the position I had moved it to. The rug had 2 pressed spots by the crib that stayed until we replaced it. The chain on the front door was hooked through from the outside, which we could not do with our chain. My wife was in the kitchen making coffee in a cup she rarely used. She looked at us from the sink the way you look at a reflection you do not trust. When I said her name, she turned and her smile was only hers. It was weak and real and sat wrong on her face because she had slept on her cheek. I cried then, and she put her hand on my back and said my name in the exact way that lifts at the end. I told her everything. She believed me, which I don't know why I am surprised. She's my wife. She cried with me. We talked about leaving. We even tried for 2 nights at her sister S. The asking followed. It knocked on their back door with her evening weight. The borrowed baby cam turned itself toward our room and held. We understood. It wasn't the wood and walls. It was the place we had made with our watching. Moving would only teach a new house our names. We never found a recording on the monitor. We switched it out for another one and then for a third. We changed the camera's place and then took it down and then put it back. We made some rules. Don't say, "Come in," unless the door is open and we want the person to enter. Don't count out loud unless we are together. Don't let the house learn the rhythm of our words in the hall. It did not stop the thing. It learned new ways to ask. It learned to knock on the door to the backyard like a neighbor and say my name through the wood with the exact weight she uses at 6 in the evening. It learned the way our son would cry when he was older and did not want a nap. It learned the exact click she makes with her tongue when she is thinking. It learned to call to me from the bedroom when she was standing in the kitchen, and from the kitchen when she was in the yard. We became quiet people in our own home. We spoke less at night. We wrote notes on a whiteboard. We found ways to ask for each other that the house had not learned. She would leave a small object on the counter in a way that only I would know what she meant. I would tap a pattern on the wall we had not used since we were teenagers. We became a code because we did not like what had learned to read us. Sometimes, the monitor would turn its small eye toward the hallway again, though we had turned it toward the window. It would do it at odd times midday, while we both sat on the floor playing with blocks and trying to make our voices normal. We would look up and see the lens creep, a slow inch to the door, as if the house was reminding us where it wanted everyone to stand. When we tell the story now, we tell it wrong on purpose. Thunder. A sticky latch, a phone glitch, it keeps the room asleep. What I don't say, I still hear her voice when she isn't speaking. It waits at the edge of doors. Last night the monitor was dark green light steady. On top of it, our son's sock, folded into a perfect square. In the hall, the nursery door rested at the wrong angle. I listened until the quiet sounded like someone holding a smile. In the morning, a pale hand-shaped mark on the wall. The camera stared at the ceiling. The house is patient. It asks one thing in one voice. Come in, Jay. Survived this nightmare? Watch the next horror here. Hit the subscribe button for more stories.